Do not panic. I am here with the best dinosaur build post-ban list. I know we've been hit very hard. Linkuriboh, Barone, and Borlode, they're all gone, but we don't need them because we have the best dinosaur deck right here. Now this dinosaur deck has a few new tricks. Using the new cards from the new Maze set, we do stand a chance this format, even with the hits. So let's get into it. So to begin here, we have 2 copies of UTC. The main boss monster, you need to banish 2 dinosaur monsters from your graveyard to special summon him. Once per turn, you can destroy a card from your hand or field to flip all your opponent's monsters face down, and he can attack all your opponent's monsters once each. And if he attacks a face down defense position monster, you can send it to the graveyard and inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. So a fantastic main deck boss monster. You can rely on your main deck a lot in this deck because UTC is just such a good monster. If you get him out, you can clear boards. So 2 copies is all we need. Next up, 3 copies of Souleating Oviraptor. You're basically your Stratos of the deck. Searches you any dinosaur monster, or can even Foolish Burial a dinosaur if that comes up. Also, you can target a dinosaur monster you control. You can destroy it and then special summon a dinosaur monster from your graveyard. This is your main starter, your main combo extender. Fantastic card. It's a dark as well, which will come up for our combos. So definitely run it a 3. Next up, 2 copies of Animadorned Archosaur. When he's summoned, you can destroy a dinosaur monster from your hand or field to add an evolution pill from your deck to your hand. In this case, we're running double evolution pill, we're not running any beta evolution pill shenanigans. He's good for starting your combos because if you destroy a Babycerasaurus, you can start your combo off that way. With the ban list, we can't just normal summon this, go into Linkuriboh and then go into Secure Gardener, but we do run Relinquished Anima, so if we normal summon this, we can link it off into Relinquished Anima. So that's how we can turn it into a dark for some of our combos later on. You can run 1 copy, but for this build, since it's a pure build, I like to run 2 for the consistency. Next up, 3 copies of Babycerasaurus. We all know the meme, pop the baby, and that's what we do a lot in this deck. When it's destroyed, you can special summon a level 4 or lower dinosaur monster from your deck. Not once per turn, your main combo extender, because every time you pop this, you keep special summoning monsters from your deck. So we definitely run it a 3. We're not running the True Draco package. I think if you're running that, then your dinosaur ratios become a lot more important. But you're always going to run 3 Babycerasaurus, so 3 copies is very good. Next up, 2 copies of your Petiteranodon. It does the same thing as your Babycerasaurus, but it special summons a level 4 or higher dinosaur. So this can bring out your Xeno Meteorus, or it can even bring out your Pank. I like 2 copies. Since we rely more on our Xeno Meteorus now, it's always good to have more copies of Petiteranodon. You can run 3 if you want, but I think that's a bit much. I think 1 is fine as well, but I like 2 copies for what it offers. Next up, 1 Misc. We'll get him back one day. So you can discard him from your hand to make all your dinosaur monsters unaffected by your opponent's cards and effects until the end of the main phase. It's great protection from hand traps. It's also great going second because it can make all your dinosaur monsters immune. You can go to the battle phase and then you can attack in with your UTC. Also, you can banish it from your graveyard along with any number of dinosaur monsters to special summon a dinosaur monster from your deck with a level equal to the number of cards you banished. So you can banish itself to summon out your Animadorned Archosaur. You can even banish a bunch if you want to bring out a Souleating Oviraptor. So it's a very good card. We run this at as much as we can, but right now it's limited, so 1 copy is perfectly fine. Next up, the new card here, we have Kaitoptera. This is our substitute for Giant Rex. It essentially functions the same way. If it's banished, you can special summon it. But also, during the main phase, you can add a Polymerization from your deck to your hand. And when it's banished and you bring it back, you can also recycle a Poly from your graveyard, which is very important with the new Hornosaurus and with your Transcendosaurus fusion monster. Next up, we go on to Frostosaurus and Xeno Meteorus. So we're running Frostosaurus because if you want to run Megalo Smasher, there's no real point because Barone is banned. The main reason you'd run that over Frostosaurus was because it was a faster way to get into Barone. But now, since that's banned, there's no real point. Frostosaurus is better anyway because it turns Xeno Meteorus into a quick way to get into your Lars, which is very good. So what Xeno Meteorus does is that when a card on the field is destroyed, you can special summon it from your hand. And during the main phase, you can target a card you control, destroy it, and then you special summon a Frostosaurus from your deck. So Xeno Meteorus is a tuner, so you can go into some Synchro monsters, or you can just overlay Xeno Meteorus and Frostosaurus to go into your Lars. Xeno Meteorus does lock you into a few things. It locks you into dinosaurs, dragons, sea serpents, and worms. For the most part, our extra deck is those types. There might be a few exceptions, but overall, the lock really doesn't matter too much. Next up, 1 Pank. We don't run 2, there's no real point. And 1 Dogoran, the Kaiju. So, Pank is searchable in this deck, obviously. You can special summon it if your opponent has more cards than you, and then you can tribute it to pop a card in the field. Very good. 2 can work if you want to run 2 in the main, if you're going for a more going second approach, but I like 1 in the main, and then 1 Dogoran because of the searchable Kaiju. Very important. Your main way to play into decks like Raid Raptor and Pearly, so 1 copy is pretty good. For the hand traps, we have triple Nibiru and triple Ash. I just think these are the most impactful hand traps you can have. Nibiru is going to be very big this format, and Ash is just always good. Even if it's a fire format, it's still worth running, because Branded did not get hit in the ban list, meaning that it's going to be way more popular, and Ash is just the bane of Branded existence. So these are the hand traps I like to run. We run more on the side, you can run more in the main, but I like this ratio right here. Onto the spells now. We have triple Fossil Dig, searches you any level 6 or lower dinosaur, so it cannot search anything like a Pank or a Kaiju, but it can search you anything including Xeno Meteorus, which can come up in certain situations, so 3 copies essential. 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill. You can search this off of your Animadorned Archosaur, and what it does is you can banish a dinosaur and a non-dinosaur monster from your hand or graveyard to special summon a level 7 or higher dinosaur monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So usually you'll use this to summon out your UTC, but you can also summon a Pank if that's relevant. And also banishing from your graveyard is important for your Kaitoptera. So 2 copies is very good. You can run this at 1, I've seen people do that, I don't think that's too bad, but I like the consistency of having 2, so 2 is alright. Next up to the spicy stuff here, we have 2 copies of Lost World and 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. So with our new Horned Saurus, we can place any field spell from our deck directly into our field spell zone, which is very good because not only can we get a Lost World without having to draw it, we can also Secret Village of the Spellcaster lock our opponent, because we run in the extra deck some Spellcasters such as Dark Charmer and Relinquish Anima. So I like this. You can obviously run this in the side if you want, and maybe it's a bit gimmicky, but I think it's pretty good, especially since, let's say you're going first, you set up the lock, your opponent goes second, let's say they remove your Spellcaster from the field, so you're locked out of spells. What you can do is you can set Lost World over your Secret Village, which will remove it from the field, and then you just flip up your Lost World and continue to use your spells. So I like this here. There's a lot of really cool field spells you can run. I think Dragonic Diagram is really good as well, but for this build, this is the ratio I like to run. Next up, triple Pot of Prosperity, because we really need the consistency that this card offers. You can banish 3 or 6 cards from your extra deck, reveal that many cards from the top of your deck, add 1, and then put the rest at the bottom of your deck. It's the only real pot we can run in this deck, but it definitely is the best. A lot of the times your combos are 2 card combos, so being able to find the missing piece is very important, so 3 copies is essential. Finally, triple tack, because it's just a great card for going first and second. It can break boards, and it can help you draw into your combo pieces. So this could be any hand trap or any staple, but I like the 3 copies of Tactics. 1 copy of Poly, because it's essential for your Kaitoptera and Horned Saurus combo. It also helps you with your Guardian Chimera, because you can summon it, and it will protect your Guardian Chimera in the grave. And finally, a Called By, because Called By is always nice. We definitely don't want to get interrupted, and it can help us going second into a Snake Eye board, because we can banish their princess, or even into any matchup. It's a very good card to have. Onto the extra deck now. 1 copy of Horned Saurus. This is new support from Maze of Millennia. If it's summoned, you can place a field spell from your deck directly onto the field. So this can get you Lost World, or it can get you your Secret Village. You need to summon this using specifically your Kaitoptera and a dragon or dinosaur, which is very good. It's a level 6, which is really good because it can help you go into your Lars. It also has the effect where you can do an additional normal summon of a dragon or dinosaur from your hand, which is very cool. And in niche scenarios, it can attack directly during the first turn it was summoned. So if you're going into time, this might be the little bit of damage you need, or it can help you finish off your opponent. It's a very versatile card. I definitely like running this in this deck, so 1 copy is all we need. Next up, 1 Transcendosaurus Gigantozowler. This is a 3800 attack monster. You're going to summon this using a normal monster and a dinosaur monster. So when it's summoned, you can add back a dinosaur from your grave to your hand. And if it was brought back from the graveyard, you can pop 2 cards, 1 from your hand or field and 1 from your opponent's field. So it's great disruption. Also, when it's destroyed, you can shuffle in a normal monster from your graveyard back into your deck to special summon it. So that will trigger its pop effect, which is very good. Since we're main decking Poly, there's no point not to run it, so 1 copy is very nice. Next up, we might as well run a Guardian Chimera, very strong, can draw us cards, can pop cards. We run Poly, so it will have protection while Poly is in the graveyard. We run a lot of main deck hand traps that are monsters, specifically because it gives us a better chance to actually go into Guardian Chimera. Really helps going second, so I like the 1 copy. But you can replace this with whatever you want. Onto the XZs, we have 1 copy of Dolkka, 1 copy of Laggia, and 1 copy of Lars. So Dolkka is a non-once per turn monster negate, which is very good. Laggia is essentially a Solemn Judgment, can negate a spell trap or a monster summon. And Lars is a quick effect, target 1 card in the field and negate its effects. And because we're using only dinosaurs for Lars, we can use this effect 2 times, which is very strong. One of the strongest cards in the deck. This little ratio of Evolzar cards is very good. You can run Solda if you want. It's kind of like a non-once per turn Solemn Strike, which is definitely not bad, but for this deck I don't think it's too necessary. For the generic XZs, we have 1 Dogoran, 1 Bagooska, 1 Dweller, and we have a TY-PHON. Dogoran is very good for going into matchups against like boss monster decks. So against a deck like Raid Raptors, where your only way of destroying your opponent's big Raid Raptor Towers monster is to either Kaiju it or go into Dogoran and beat over it. You can also draw your cards, which is very good. Bagooska is great for if you get interrupted and you can only end on a Bagooska, it can save you for a few turns. Abyss Dweller is very good for decks that rely on the graveyard. However, we do run Necro Valley in the extra deck, so if you want to cut Abyss Dweller for something like a Tornado Dragon or any other good extra deck card, you definitely can. And TY-PHON is great where we get interrupted and we can just go into this. The 2900 body can bounce a card. Great for breaking boards and great if we're in a simplified game state, so I like this little extra deck package right here. For the 1 synchro, we have Swordsoul Chengying. It's not necessary. We did lose Barone, so I did still want to have a synchro option. I think it's a very good card to end on because once a card is banished, you can banish a card from your opponent's field and graveyard. It's also good to get up to high attack. We banish a fair bit in this deck, so it definitely can come up. So I like the 1 copy. I think it's pretty good, but you can cut it if you feel like it. For the links here, we have Relinquished Anima, which is our Linkuriboh replacement. Essentially serves the same purpose. We can't go Anima into Secure Garden anymore because Anima is a spellcaster. However, we don't really need to. We're going to be linking this off into something like a Dark or a different link to get a card in the graveyard that's not a dinosaur so that we can use our double evolution. Also, the ability to steal your opponent's monster is very cool. If your opponent plays into the zone, you can just steal their monster. Or if you Nibiru them, you can put the token in the anima zone and steal the token and get a very big anima to help you swing for game. Next up, we have 1 Dark the Dark Charmer. We have a lot of darks in this deck. Most of the time we can go into this using either our anima or something like our Oviraptor. Great for stealing dark monsters in our opponent's graveyard, but the main purpose of this is to have a spellcaster on field so that we can Secret Village lock our opponent. To round off the deck, we have Pentastag and Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix is good for popping back row. This deck can struggle against back row, so to have a Phoenix is really good. And our Pentastag helps us going for OTKs because whatever monster it points to does piercing damage. So if we have a UTC and this card points to it, we can attack all our opponent's defense position monsters, do piercing, and probably win the game from there. Finally, the side deck now, we have triple Droll. Droll is just very good in certain matchups. Matchups like Pearly, matchups like Vanadium, any kind of combo deck that really needs to search. It's a great card to have. I don't main it because I don't think it's too good in the main. I don't think it covers enough matchups, but I think running this in the side is very good for specific matchups, and I think it's definitely something you should include in this deck somewhere. Next up, a little bestial package, 1 Baldrake, 1 Druisworm, and 1 Magnamut. Funny enough, these are level 6 monsters, so they can help you go into your Lars. They're also dragons, so you'll never be locked out of them. They're great going up against decks that really rely on light and darks in the graveyard. It's really good against pure Snake Eyes, especially now since they can't get negates up. Great against decks like Branded, which I think is going to be really good. Can be useful against certain decks like Labyrinth, so I like this little bestial package in the side. You can even main it if you want, but I'm a fan of this in the side. Next up, we have the 1 Necro Valley as our alternate target for our Hornsaurus. Very good against graveyard focused decks. Tier might become a big issue with the new set coming out with the new Lightsworn support, so this can really help us fight against that. Even Snake Eyes, this does a lot of damage too. And just decks in general, it's a very good card to have. Replace this with whatever you want, but I think it's a very good floodgate to have. Next up for back row, we have double Lightning Storm and a Harpies. Back row can be an issue. We have no main deck ways to out back row, so I think this little package here is very good. Since Snake Eye got hit, I don't think it's too important to have something like a Cosmic Cyclone. I think for this deck, you want to go all in, so you want to go Lightning Storm, remove all the back row, and then go for game. So I like this ratio right here, but don't be afraid to put in Cosmics if you want. Finally, we have, for more board breakers, triple Dark Ruler and double Dark Hole. Dark Hole is funny because we can destroy our own dinosaur monsters to benefit from that. So If we're going second, we can normal summon a baby. We can Dark Hole to remove all our opponent's monsters, pop the baby, trigger the baby, let's go. We summon out a card and we can probably OTK from there. Dark Hole is just great for removing kind of negates on field or annoying effects on the field. It might be a bit less relevant now since a lot of the Omni negates are just gone, but I still think it's going to find a place. I still think there's enough stuff on the field that you do want to negate. IP Masquerena, SP Little Knight, Apollosa, all those cards you do want to negate, so I like this ratio right here. So that's it for my dinosaur deck profile post April 2024 ban list. Hope you guys enjoyed. I do think this build is pretty cool. It does suffer a little bit. Dinosaurs did get hit pretty badly, but I do think that this list does a lot of unique things. I do think that you will find success with it. I also have a few other ideas for dinosaur deck profiles, specifically a dinosaur deck profile revolving around Crimson Dragon, which you can summon in this deck, and it is pretty funny. So let me know if you want to see that, and I'll get cooking. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, like and subscribe for more.